The end of humanity was not a sudden fireball, not a single scream that tore across the void and faded into silence. It was slow, grinding, and strangely intimate, like a long breath held too long, chest aching, lungs trembling, until finally the body can no longer pretend. By the time the final century dawned, the sun had grown swollen and angry, its flares crackling across a scorched sky. Earth no longer whispered with wind and rain. It groaned, its crust cracking, oceans retreating into steaming shadows, cities crumbling under the relentless hand of time, and humanity, once so proud, once so loud, dwindled. They had always believed they were eternal, that their machines, their cities, their flags planted on alien soil would outlive even the stars. But survival is not a birthright, and the cosmos cares for no empire. As the sun expanded, flaring and boiling, humanity tried everything. Colonies across the solar system, machines to capture and reflect stellar fire, cryogenic vaults buried deep in dead moons. Yet each effort failed, not because they lacked brilliance, but because entropy always wins. By the time the last 100,000 clung to existence, Earth was a wasteland. Crops withered beneath ultraviolet fire. Oceans grew toxic with heavy metals. The atmosphere thinned, choked with radiation storms. Children were born with lungs that collapsed before their first cry, and even those who lived grew weaker than the generations before. The once loud hum of cities was replaced with a silence so deep it rang in the ears. It was in this silence that the Ark was built. Not a ship of grandeur, not a gleaming titan to rival the myths of golden ages past, but a skeleton of steel and sorrow, forged from the bones of fallen satellites, powered by reactors salvaged from long-dead stations. Its purpose was simple: carry what remained of humanity beyond the grasp of the swollen sun. It was not built for glory. It was built for desperation. Command fell to Admiral Kira Saul, though Admiral was more memory than authority. She had once commanded fleets of exploration, whole armadas that mapped the outer moons. Now she commanded perhaps 500 engineers, pilots, and scavengers. Her hair was silver, her skin scarred by radiation burns, but her eyes still carried fire. She spoke rarely, but when she did, her words carried weight, not because they promised survival, but because they did not lie about death. "We will not save everyone," she told them as they welded plates in the darkness of the shipyard. "We may not save anyone, but we will try, and if we fail, let us fail looking outward, not crawling into the dust." So the Ark took shape, a vessel longer than a city, but frailer than any fortress. Its hull was patched with mismatched metals, its engines stitched together from generations of half-forgotten blueprints. Whole sections were left unsealed, never finished. But in its heart it carried the last vault of genetic archives, the last databanks of human thought, the last cradle where children might one day be born beneath alien stars. But time was cruel. As the Ark prepared for launch, the Nathera arrived. No one knew if they came from beyond the galaxy or from some dark corner of it, waiting. They did not speak, not in sound, not in gesture, not in code. Their ships drifted like shadows, vast and angular, blacker than the void, absorbing the light of dying stars. They descended upon Earth not with fire, but with silence. Cities already crumbling collapsed completely. Radiation storms bent toward their ships as though magnetized. Those few humans who dared to fight were erased, not burned, not shattered, but erased. Memories gone, bones dissolved, nothing left. Humanity did not know if the Nathera were conquerors or scavengers, or simply predators answering hunger. What they knew was this: Humanity's last chance was being strangled before it could leave its cradle. The Ark became fortress and coffin both. The surviving fleets, little more than rusting frigates and patched drones, rallied to defend it. Robots long abandoned, their servos creaking with rust, were awakened and armed. The last children of Earth were loaded into cryopods, their dreams frozen, unaware that their lullabies might be the final human voices sung beneath the sun. The battle that followed was unlike anything written in the old histories. Not war, not strategy, but survival. Nethera ships moved in silence, their forms shifting like shadows made solid. Human frigates screamed with plasma fire, rail slugs cutting the void. Drones tore themselves apart as makeshift bombs. Even the Ark, unfinished and fragile, fired engines not to flee but to ram. Admiral Saul stood on the cracked bridge, the floor trembling, systems flickering. "Keep them away from the vault," she said, though she knew they could not. Her crew obeyed anyway, not because they believed, but because obedience gave meaning in the end. Hours became days, or perhaps days became hours. In the chaos of dying stars, time fractured. Ships fell, one by one. Whole fleets vanished in Nethera's shadows. The Ark staggered, its hull pierced, hundreds lost to vacuum. Yet still it crawled forward, engines sputtering, trying to break free of Earth's poisoned orbit. And then the final choice came. The Nethera mothership descended, vast as a continent, eclipsing the swollen sun. Its tendrils reached, not for the Ark's engines, but for its vault, the last library of humanity, the last memory of what had been. Admiral Soul looked upon it and knew the Ark could not escape. Even if it fled, the mothership would follow, draining its core, erasing its legacy. Only one option remained. She ordered the crew to evacuate what few pods remained. Dozens of cryotubes were hurled into the void, aimed blindly toward distant stars. No guidance, no escort, only hope. Perhaps one would land on a rock with air. Perhaps one would drift until found. Perhaps none would ever wake. Then she gave the final command. Detonate the core. The Ark had always been more bomb than vessel. Its engines were nuclear hearts, its power drawn from the last fusion reactors. As its spine cracked and its hull bent, the detonation ripped outward, not as fire, but as light. A final blaze brighter than the swollen sun, tearing into the Nethera mothership. For one brief moment, the void burned with humanity's defiance. When it faded, Earth was gone. The Ark was gone. The Nethera mothership drifted, shattered but not destroyed, its tendrils still twitching. And in the endless silence that followed, only the pods remained, drifting like seeds cast into a barren wind. Perhaps they would be found. Perhaps they would decay in darkness. Perhaps someday, in some far corner of the galaxy, a child would wake, lungs trembling with the first breath of a species thought extinct. Perhaps not. The stars did not answer. The stars had never answered. But if there is meaning in the cosmos, it is this. Humanity did not go quietly. Humanity did not crawl into the dust. Humanity closed its eyes, looking outward, into the abyss, daring still to hope that something might remain. And when the stars closed their eyes, humanity's last dream lingered. Not a scream, not a plea, a whisper, remember us.